Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Got the NBA on Friday here with a lot of teams on a back-to-back and a lot of injuries that are still waiting to come out and be confirmed. So we do need to wait on that stuff to make some really strong plays. I've got my leans here for the day. So I am going to be going over the final bets that I have in the live show today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. You guys come in, bring your bets. We'll find some more value together as we still wait for a lot of these props to come out. We don't have everything we need, but I do have my strong leans here for you guys. So I want to get into how we did on Thursday, another winning night, and then jump right into the picks that I'm looking at for Friday. Fine day on Thursday, 4-3, hit half a unit or so that we're up now. So up 21.62 units on the season through about 6 weeks here. Had 4 picks right with the Scotty Barnes boards. Loved that one because we went back to it after it failed to hit in the game before, and it should have hit in the game before. But either way, 8.5 boards was nice for plus 100. So we got even money back on that. Grady Dick was an ad on the live show. So was Scotty Barnes, by the way. So was Santi Aldama as well. So all 3 of those cash from the live show where we found those. Even though I had to leave a little bit early from that one, everything's all good. Thank you for reaching out and asking everybody, much appreciated. And then MPJ was an easy cash as well. He had like 15 or 11 or 12, whatever it was at the half, but he was close to it. Got it in the third quarter, and we felt good. Jared Allen didn't get involved in the offense. Just that simple. These 2 bets were, all 3 of these bets, I do regret a bit. So the Jared Allen one, I still liked it, and I probably will play him again against the Nuggets. 12.5, 13.5, probably a bit high for him at that point, but it was mostly because Donnie just went crazy and did his thing. I mean, he had 28. Needed him to go under 27. It just wasn't worth it. I was playing this bet based on the fact that he had gone under against Denver in the past so often, but he had Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was the guy guarding him. Really good defender. Christian Brown got eaten alive, and then everybody else as well. Honestly, Peyton Watson, I thought, would do a pretty good job on him. Still nothing. And they didn't even play Peyton Watson enough to matter. So at this point, yeah, you can't really be taking Donnie Mitchell unless you have a lockdown defender in terms of the under. For Micic, I really thought KJ Simpson was going to get in. I took a flyer on a young dude to start overtaking Micic in the minutes, but I guess Charles Lee still liked him in there, and they were playing well against the Knicks. So they kept him in, and he actually beat this at the half, and I looked really silly. So we'll reevaluate that one. That was definitely a mistake, and I'll own it as we move forward. But let's get into these plays that I'm looking at here. Quick reminder as well that we do have the VIP access for you guys. If you don't want to miss a single one of these bets that I'm making and get in on the numbers that I'm giving them at when I give them out, the VIP Discord, you can jump in and get 50% off your first 2 months if you use the code right here, VIPDISC, VIPDISC. And if you do not have access to it yet, and for some reason this code isn't working, I had a couple of you guys reach out to me and saying it wasn't working. We took care of it real easily. So definitely want to jump in. Got 2 left on that one as well. Added a couple last night after it filled up. So definitely want to jump in there using that code if you do want to get in on those picks. Also offering plenty of sports betting consultations, help, one-on-one help if you guys want to trim some of those bad habits and get into some of those good ones. But let's take a look here at the first play I'm looking at. Talking about Paul George, and I just think this is too low, man. Like 17.5 to me is based on obviously not great numbers yet this season. He's still trying to figure things out, but this last game against a very easy team, mind you, I get it, but it was the 16 shots in 37 minutes that really made me take a look at Paul George and go, I think this is going to be another game where he's going to be able to take another step forward, even against a really good defense. The key here is you don't beat this team by beat the Orlando Magic. You don't score on them by trying to move the ball and get those passes around the horn. It's either somebody that is beating their man one-on-one or in the ISO or the pick and roll, right? Those are the 2 ways that we really see them get beat. And that's what Paul George does. He's either playing in the pick and roll as the ball handler or he's an ISO on the wing. And that should be a better matchup for him than Tyrese Maxey's going to face, because Maxey is going to have Jalen Suggs, who should be a first-team all-defensive player in the NBA this season, draped all over him. And it's going to make that a lot more difficult. So I like Paul to kind of come in. We're talking about a 23 points per game scorer in the NBA over the course of his last 10 seasons in the league. It's just too low, despite the fact that he hasn't done well this season. These numbers are all with Joel Embiid on the season, not good hit rate. That's not what this is about. This is about getting ahead of Paul George's uptick in minutes, usage, and as a result, the points. He should be at about 19 to 20.5 points per game especially when there's no Joel Embiid in there, which we know is going to be the case once again. So I think they're going to rely on him to score. I know this is going to be an ugly, choppy game, but 17.5 is a very beatable number for Paulie G. Let's get into the Bucks and Celtics. We know Chris Middleton is coming back, and we know Jaylen Brown has a bit of motivation to come out and play big. Not sure if you saw the comments, but the last game that they played, Giannis did a little like fake handshake and then do one of those to Jaylen Brown, who was just like, what a child. And then the Nike tweeted out some stuff as well at Jaylen Brown. They have beef. And Giannis is a Nike athlete. So yeah, there's beef there. And Jaylen Brown is somebody that I do think is going to be, we'll call him petty enough to kind of bring it in this one. I think he's better for the points. I actually like Tatum on the dimes and the rebounds a bit more in this one. We get these at 13.5, getting juiced down as well. I'm looking at now. Wow. I might be recommending getting this before it gets to 14.5, because I think 13.5 is a beatable number for him. Obviously on the season, that's where he's at. If you look at him head to head in this series right now, if you look at the first game, 11 potentials on 4 assists, played 36 minutes, but also the 14 rebound chances, and he actually gets more rebounds with Kristaps Porzingis. I don't understand fully why, although Kristaps is doing a lot of the boxing out right against those bigger centers, and then Tatum's able to swoop in and get a lot of those boards. But if you look at Tatum with Kristaps on the season, and I don't believe he's out, but maybe that just got, and this is this season, and this is rebounds and assists, but I'm just looking at the boards. They're up at about 10.3, so more rebounds with Kristaps, and that was the case last season as well. If you look at him with Kristaps, 8.6 rebounds, but 8.4 without on the season, so about 8.2 without him. So it's not a huge uptick, but it's not like because KP is out there, Jason Tatum's stuff goes down. If anything, it goes up. And if you look at the dimes, similar case with KP out there, 0.8 more. I don't believe he's out, but now that we're doing this live on the air, let's see about this injury report. This is linked in the description of the video. The official injury report for the NBA is in there if you want to take a look at that. If we look at the Celtics, Tatum is listed questionable. I believe he's playing, and so is KP. So yeah, we might have some guys out here. If Jason Tatum is out again, I don't believe he's going. I think he and JB both play. It looks like they're going to have their full lineup in. I also think they're going to have Kristaps. I don't know why you would leave him out in a game that I'm sure that they care about in this sort of mini rivalry at this point. I think Tatum's good for the assists and rebounds. I like Brown more on the points. Mostly it's conjecture. It's the motivation factor for him against a team that it's kind of just been punking him a little bit, to be honest. You look on the other side, I don't have much for the other side, although I would be looking at Giannis dimes. That's what I like. And I've had this note down for a while, and it looks like it's getting juiced. People are hitting this over because of the way that this Celtics team plays against Giannis. He does get a good amount of assists against them. This season, 5 and 6. And I think 5 is the sweet spot. If you want to use Giannis and his assists, I think 5+ added to any of the parlays that you guys are making today is going to be a really good piece. It's like I said, they build a wall at the free throw line, not allowing Giannis to go any further than that when they can avoid it. And that's why his assists do so well against his team. Last season also hit this in 2 of the 3 in terms of 5.5. The 5 also in that game had 13 potentials and couldn't get his teammates to make a few more shots. But I like Chris Middleton being out there. If we go to StatMuse, which I've shown you guys before as well, and we do Giannis stats with and without Chris Middleton last season, I do think we're going to see a bit better on the dimes. It's the same. Okay, it was the same with him last year. A couple seasons ago, he actually had more dimes with Chris Middleton out there than without. So I still think about 6 to 7 assists for Giannis with Chris Middleton is going to be a good look. And last year, he had a few more dimes as well. I don't think Dame is going to be good for the assists in this one. I think it's actually a potential spot for a negative correlated parlay where you take Dame Lillard and you go under his assists, but you parlay that with maybe 20 plus points, and that gives you negative correlation to help you get a little bit better juice, right? Because the books are saying if he's going to have the ball in his hands and get assists, he's just as likely to get points. But you're saying he's not going to get assists and he is going to get points, so we give you a bit more better odds on that bet if you make it as a parlay. Other game I'm looking at here is this Spurs and Kings game. And I want to take a look first here at 2 guys on the Spurs. I think Stephon Castle is due for a good game. And I think Harrison Barnes is due for a bit of a bad game here. And I know he's playing the Kings and we all want to take him in a revenge narrative. But with Jeremy Sohan back, it's a big difference for this man. If you look at with Jeremy Sohan on the season right now, these numbers right at about, for the points, 9.3, which is below the season average because he's scoring more without him. And for the boards, only 3.3 rebounds per game when Jeremy Sohan is playing, who we saw go ballistic last game on the boards. And this has already gotten bet down from 4.5 to 3.5 boards for Harrison. So if you take the points and rebounds under, I think that's a good look here. Only over in 3 of 9 with Jeremy Sohan out there. He's just taken too much of the same stuff that HB wants to do. They play in similar spots on the floor. Obviously, they're both considered power forwards, maybe Sohan a little bit more of a point forward at times, but still playing in that power forward spot. And with Harrison Barnes being the one who got a lot of time as of late, and Sohan coming back from injury, I think he's going to continue to see his minutes rise. I don't believe we have the props for him yet because he hasn't been starting, but that only helps us take over his props because of the fact that when they do come up and he's not starting, we'll get a little bit of value in the fact that usually starters play more minutes, but I think we're going to see Sohan play more minutes once again. In this last game right here against the Bulls, we just saw 20 minutes from Harrison Barnes, whereas we saw 30 plus, right, from Jeremy Sohan. So I do think that's going to be the case again. They're giving Harrison too much credit just because he's starting, and they're not giving Sohan enough credit, as he'll probably end up in that starting lineup. And even if he doesn't, and they keep HB out there, but they bring Sohan off the bench, I think he's going to be seeing more minutes than Harrison Barnes moving forward this year. The other guy is Stephon Castle. We don't have his props up except for on Ladbrokes and whatever a sports bet is. If you do have Bet Online, though, that is a good place to take him at 12.5 points. I think the points and the dimes are probably a good look here. The reason being, this team is playing now. It's third game in 4 nights. They just played 4 nights ago rather, on the 3rd. They played last night against Chicago, and they're playing again tonight. And you've got, how old is Chris Paul? 40, 39 at least. And he's coming back out to play as the point guard with Vassell in there, with Castle, with Champagny, with Brand. I mean, there's guys available. You don't have to play Chris Paul as many minutes. I don't think he's going to see quite as many minutes in this game just because of the rest. Like I'm saying, he played 29 last night, 32 in the game before. This game, yeah, I'm sure you can still put him at about 28, but if you look at Castle's minutes, they continue to stay high, right? So 23 versus the Bulls, that was a bad game for that team. But 34 the game before, 33 the game before, 30. So he's up now at about 30 plus, and they are using him in lineups with Chris Paul, but they're also keeping him on with the second unit and playing him a few more minutes per night than Chris Paul as well. So I think the points, if they come out at 12.5, anything under 13.5 or under is a great look for Stephon Castle on the points. The dimes, 4.5, you're getting a little bit up there. But the Kings, if we look at how well they limit assists, 14th, so middle of the pack in terms of limiting assists. I do want to pull up FanDuel Fantasy Pros and just see how they rank in terms of limiting point guard assists on the season, specifically against this position. And if we look at the Kings limiting assists to the PG, not very good. So yeah, I think you're still going to be able to get some, probably both from Chris Paul and from Castle, but I think Castle is going to be the one who sees a few more minutes out there. All right, we're going to get a lot more of this in the live show today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So jump in there so we can get those final best bets and find some nice value tonight. One more reminder, still have 2 extra now codes for anybody who wants 50% off the first 2 months in the VIP Discord. Come get some betting help, as well as the picks that I'm making, and make some money here with us, up 22 units on the season. So we'll keep it rolling. I'll see y'all on the live show. And until I do, happy betting.